we are passing through phase 1A of TI Analog Design Contest 2012-2013, and now we have been given a problem statement by Texas Instruments in which we have to simulate this circuit, and we have to simulate this circuit, and this circuit is a differentiator circuit, and for simulation we will use TINA software provided by Texas Instruments. And this differentiator circuit's transfer function is like this. This transfer function can be derived easily, and it is given in PDF provided by Texas Instruments. And we can see that this transfer function has two poles, and we can see that a GB for an op-amp is very large. In this case it is 3 MHz from dataset, which we have written down, and we can see that denominator becomes 0 as GB is very large for lower frequency, and it acts as a perfect differentiator, and function is like some constant into S, where S is frequency domain variable, and for higher frequency transfer function is like as written in below. And for simulation we can see that in TINA we have used the circuit, and we have obtained the graph for frequency analysis, and we can see that our plot is dB plot, and which is increasing to a maxima and then decreasing, and phase plot is also, it is near 100 degree till cutoff frequency, and then it drastically decreases and goes to -100 degree after cutoff frequency, and these lines should match, and it is matching in our simulation. And for experiment we have to simulate and create this circuit on ASL-KB starter kit of Texas Instruments, and this is the circuit provided by Texas Instruments on which we have configured our circuit. And the pin diagram for this ASL-KB starter kit has been given, and we can see that it has various op-amps. One op-amp in inverting configuration, one mode is a spare op-amp, and last is inverting and non-inverting mode op-amp. As we can see in the circuit that resistances are connected to both inverting and non-inverting pin of the op-amp, so we are using those op-amps on which resistances are connected in both inverting and non-inverting mode. So by seeing this pin diagram and our circuit, we have assembled the circuit on our kit. As you can see that in kit here it is plus VCC ground and minus VCC, and we are using one op-amp of this IC. This IC is dual op-amp IC in which 2 TL082 op-amp made by Texas Instruments is present. And after connecting one op-amp, we have connected other op-amp in unity gain mode. We have learned it from guide provided by Texas Instruments that a spare op-amp or non-used op-amp of dual IC op-amps should never be left unconnected. It should be connected in unity gain mode. So for that we have connected inverting and non-inverting terminals to ground, and connected the circuit in unity gain feedback. Unity gain mode seems like this, in which if input terminals are left unconnected due to stray electromagnetic field, one of the terminals might get higher voltage, and which ultimately lead to V saturated or minus V saturated output at the output terminal of the spare op-amp in the dual op-amp IC. So to prevent it, it has been connected in unity gain mode. And now we have to do frequency analysis for the circuit, and for that we are going to start from 0.74 kHz, and here we can see that our waveform is input and below lower waveform is output. As we can increase the frequency, we can see that the amplitude has increased, it is increasing, and now you can see that it is getting saturated. This is getting saturated because the maximum output voltage of this circuit is 10 volt due to op-amp's VCC is 10 volt, and as we keep on increasing it will become a square wave of 10 volt, and so it is there. and we know that after increasing much frequency, the amplitude starts decreasing. And now we see that we change the frequency to more. Here we can see that 45 kilohertz. It has been increased, and now again its amplitude is decreasing, and it is output is going towards sinusoidal waveform again. So now it is 101 kilohertz, and it is something like output sinusoidal waveform. Now we increase more, and 1000 kilohertz, that is 1 megahertz, it is almost like sinusoidal. So the saturation is coming because we have used higher input volt, and we can see that input voltage used was 1.8 volt. So we must get it reduced input so that output voltage doesn't exceed 10 volt, and for that there are buttons minus 20 dB, minus 20 dB. So we press this and this. So 18 millivolt is there. For 18 millivolt as input and frequency 1.7 kilohertz, we can see the waveform. This is output waveform, sinusoidal waveform. Now we increase the frequency, and we can see that output is again increasing, but it is not going to saturation, and it is increasing and increasing. We can see that output is increasing a lot. So now we increase, so it is sinusoidal waveform. Now we increase more frequency, and we can see that after increasing much more frequency, gain should increasing, so sinusoidal waveform's amplitude is again decreasing, and it is decreasing and decreasing. So we have seen that by taking 18 millivoltage input, the output waveform is not going to saturation, which is required. So now we have seen the dB gain, that is V0 by Vi. We have seen the gain that it is increasing. It is increasing for some frequency, and then after that frequency it is decreasing. Before moving to phase difference characteristic, I want to tell you that for low frequency you can see that out waveform is rippled. This is due to low value of PSRR, power supply rejection ratio of the op-amp. Low frequency, it is obvious that 1 by j omega c will be greater, and due to change in shifting of quiescent point, this filter differentiator also acts like a filter, is unable to filter out some signal at the low frequency. That's why ripples comes in the picture. If we provide capacitance in output parallel to the output, then these ripples can be removed. For higher frequency this is not problem. Now I want to move to the phase difference characteristic. We can see that now we are at 0.79 kilohertz, and we can see that output is leading the input, and if we increase the frequency, you can see that amplitude is increasing and phase difference is decreasing. So up to some point, that is the point for the maximum gain, and the point where the phase difference will become from leading to lagging will be same, and we will see that point clearly, that it output goes from leading form to lagging waveform. And for that, let me increase much more. And we can see that at 18, here we can see that it is 18 kilohertz, and for that waveform output is lagging. How we can check that? I am moving output waveform and it is lagging from input waveform. You can see that critical point at, you can see that it is moving that side. You can see here that the output waveform, this is output waveform which is moving, it is leading, and now this output form is lagging, and that point is around 11 kilohertz, which is the critical frequency for which it moves from leading mode to lagging mode, and then after increasing frequency it remains lagging, and it reaches to 180 degree lagging from input waveform. So that's the frequency characteristics for phase difference. And now we are going to do transient analysis of the circuit as asked by Texas Instruments. we have to provide 1 volt square wave of 100 frequency, 100 hertz frequency, and we have applied here around 100 hertz, and here we can see the output. The moving waveform is the input square wave, and this damping waveform is output. So we can see that it is something like it is damping sinusoidally. So now I want to explain the region. As you can see the transfer function. In this transfer function you can see that denominator is quadratic and clear from here, s and s square, and it will have 2 poles, and clearly as coefficient of s is positive, though both poles will lie on the negative half side of imaginary axis. So it will be stable waveform, and so it is going towards stability, and you can see that at last it is not becoming fully zero, because before going to total stability it sees sudden change in input waveform, so accordingly it changes the damping direction. So now we have seen that the region behind the damping waveform, and we also first of all we also saw that this damping waveform is coming or not theoretically. In MATLAB we wrote this transfer function and took GB as in data sheet, and GB in data sheet was you can see that unity gain bandwidth is 3 MHz, which is GB, and for this GB we wrote transfer function in MATLAB, and we have supplied a step response, and you can see that the waveform is same as in CRO, and at each starting point or ending point you can see that it is just like a step input, and that's why it has been confirmed theoretically also that our waveform is high. But now you can see that in starting there is some sort of saturation, and that is due to the fact that in starting in MATLAB you can see that there is very high amplitude in output, but our op-amp's output is getting saturated. So as it gets saturated at 10 volt, we can see that saturation is there at here. So now we have seen this. Now we have seen various methods, that is simulation and practical, what we have got the frequency analysis. Now we are going to see the gain bandwidth from various analysis. And theoretically gain bandwidth of an op-amp should be infinite, and in datasheet the TL082 op-amp's gain bandwidth is 3 MHz, and from simulation we have seen that at 15.31 kHz maximum gain is there, and we have taken two points corresponding to -3 dB point, that is 15.39 and 15.14 kHz, and we calculated gain bandwidth by multiplying gain into difference between two frequencies, and it is coming 2.445 MHz. And from data obtained from cathode oscilloscope we can see that we took various points and plotted the graph, and we saw that the maxima was coming at 11.2 kHz, and corresponding frequencies for -3 dB points are these two, and similarly we calculated, and the gain bandwidth was coming 2.323 MHz. So from simulation and practical experiment we see that both are same, and theoretically it is much larger. So in MATLAB also we can see the graph of our gain, this graph was made using the points taken from cathode ray oscilloscope during experiment. We learned various things while doing this experiment or while passing through this phase 1A of our competition. First of all, when we got to know about this kit and we read the PDF, as we didn't know what problem statement we are going to get, so we saw that various ICs are there on the kit, that is multiplier, digital to analog converter, and op-amp. So we have studied the internal circuitry of multiplier, so that we thought that it might be in use while doing experiment. So we learnt about various analog ICs while passing through this phase. And then we also got to learn the difference between practical and ideal. And in ideal differentiator circuit, by increasing the frequency, the curve is a sort of linear because the transfer function is of form k into s. And but as op-amp doesn't have infinite gain bandwidth, so there is a quadratic equation in the denominator, and that's why the frequency response is different. And we got to learn the different waveform that is obtained by practical, and it was different from theoretical, that is ideal op-amp. So we got to learn about difference between practical and theoretical. We also learned about the transient nature, the logic behind the transient output. We didn't know that this was coming, saturation was coming. We also learn that when we give input, higher input, then output gets saturated. So we must give as small as input for the frequency analysis. For other purposes it may be different, but for frequency analysis we must give as low as the lower input. And next we learned that there is ripples in the output waveform, and we have already explained the reason. And also learned that the dual op-amp ICs, no op-amp should be left unconnected, and we have taken care while doing this experiment. And we also learned some small things, as in case of CRO. When we first brought the CRO and saw the trace on the CRO, and the plot was coming tilted, so we first thought that the CRO is bad and we must get it replaced. And then after asking from a lab assistant and searching on internet, we got to know that it can be made horizontal by turning this screw. You can see that there is a small screw, and by moving this it can be made horizontal. So this is a good thing which we got to know. And there was also another problem. When we took frequency of something like 991 Hz, and we saw here and calculated theoretically by seeing the range from this knob and trace, and we saw that the frequency is not matching. And again we thought, what should we do? So again we searched on internet, and we got to know that this knob is there, and this knob is connected in the series with this knob. So when we move this, frequency changes. You can see that here frequency is same, but in trace frequency is changing by turning this knob. And for perfect matching frequency, we should keep it to 0. And now if you check both frequency, then they came to be same, and thus we learned that use of this